action.
Yep. And then Denise and everybody for this week, we're going to go live with Facebook Live in case you guys don't remember we were doing that. We're going to be doing that again this week. So I'll be doing that behind the scenes. And so, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we have the honor of having our manager from our Sewell office, Denise Bastinzio. And hey, Denise.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning. And Denise is going to be going over marketing and how she handles marketing pieces to generate more listing leads and to follow up with your client base. So she's got a lot of tips and tricks and ideas that she's going to be sharing with you today. If you have any questions, obviously you can raise your hand and just kind of unmute yourself to jump in. Denise, you can see him, or if you can't hear, or something like that, just kind of like, do the here. So let's have another, really good meeting. Thank you very much, Denise. Take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming this morning. I'm always happy to see your faces. So, and the fact that you're here means that you're always willing to learn. And for me, I'm the same way, and I'm always willing to share what I learned with all of you. So one of the first things that we're talking about today is postcard mailings. And I know that it's a very old-fashioned thing to do, or very old school. However, it's still extremely effective. I get bombarded with 50 million emails, and when I'm going and everybody's trying to sell me something, and I'm kind of like skipping through it. And if something doesn't grab my attention, I'm just delete, or maybe I'll save it for something later if I ever get a chance to go back and take a look at that. One of the things that I find with postcards is that it's the singularity of the postcard. And one of the vehicles now, in the pre-EDDM, which stands for Every Door Direct Mail days, we used to have to get labels and put the postcard stamps on there. It was very tedious. It was a great job if you had kids, because this way they could sit there, occupy themselves, and make some money by getting your postcards ready. But EDDM, Every Door Direct Mail, through the United States Postal Service, is a much faster and efficient way to get information out there. And EDDM means exactly that, Every Door Direct Mail. And the process is fairly simple. I'm gonna run you through one and then tell you how I decide how many postcards I order, etc. So I know myself that when I get mostly EDDM mail, it's flyers, it's, from the supermarkets, but then I get the big postcard from Bed Bath & Beyond with 20% off. And I go, oh, I stop and I look at that. Every time you're touching something that's printed, your brain has to look at it. If you touch it, you have to look at it. I don't have to necessarily do that if it's something that's on social media. So that postcard, when it comes in the mail, you look at it because you're doing the 3Ds. You're either going to do it, you're going to delegate it, or you're going to dump it. But you still have to read it to decide what it is that you want to do. And generally, it's your brain stops for a second, takes in the information, and then you make the decision what you're going to do with the card. And I find that a lot of people will hold on to the cards. Maybe they're not going to sell today, or maybe they want to show somebody something, or like me, if it's other realtors, I save them because I like to see what everybody else is doing. But I like the singularity of getting a postcard in the mail. And the nice thing too is that even if it's a vacant house, it gets delivered there. If you have something with an address, they're going to send it back and say undeliverable, vacant home. But with EDDM, it's just Every Door Direct Mail. So it goes into the mailbox. Areas that we used to be able to put information out, by hand, it's not that easy anymore to door knock. A lot of places want you to get a mercantile license in order to do that. I don't know how safe it is. I'm not too sure how many people want to open their doors these days to get information from you, or just to get a newsletter. So this, again, is a much more effective and economical way of getting your information out to the public. It's also a great vehicle if you're going to be farming an area. And I know most of you know what farming is, but one of the nice things about USPS.com and EDDM is that when you put an address in, you can actually see the mail routes, and it gives you uh, a, a real-time accounting of how many homes are in the area. So why don't I open up, one of the first things I do when I'm going to do a sold card mailing, or I'm looking for a listing mailing, or I want to just blanket an area with information saying I'm looking for listings, or I have a buyer for an area, is I put an address in. So you go on the USPS.com site, and that's what you're looking at right here. And at the very top, you'll see something that says business. And when you just hover over business, on the left-hand side, you're going to see every door direct mail. So you click on that, and now you put your address in. So let's say I was going to do 3 June Drive. June Ann. And that's in Clayton. Okay, so what I do is I click on the little Finder button, and this is really kind of cool. And so what it does is that it now pulls up, and you can make this screen larger. It pulls up where the property is, right here with the star. Can you see that? Now you can also decide how big of a circle or area that you want to mark it in. So when I just take my mouse and I go all around the button where my property is that I want to mail to, if you look on the upper, right up here where it says route residential, if you look up there, it's telling you what the route number is. It tells you how many residential homes are there. It tells you how many businesses. Now I can take all the businesses out. If I don't want to market to the business for 24 businesses, I can take that out. It gives me the ability to edit that. It also, if I wanted to, gives me an opportunity to put an age demographic in. So if I was only looking for maybe a 55 and older community, I would probably want to change the age demographic. And it also tells me, ironically, what the median income is. But it also says that if I were going to mail just to this one little section of 542 homes, the cost for the postcards would be $108.11, which is really, really cheap. Now, that's not the entire area. I want to add this one. So let's say I'm going to put that there. So now I want to do this section over here. And you notice a lot of times these little routes, let me make it a little bigger for you. These little routes overlap in other areas. Like there's a little tiny piece right here on the same mail route. So I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use this one too. So this is basically 578 homes. It tells me it's $117.41. So it continues to give me my delivery, how many delivery addresses, and what my cost is. So now I know that I need to order a minimum of 1,000 cards, but I probably will do maybe 1,200 or 1,500 because I think I'm going to add this little section here too. So now I can blanket an area of almost 1,700 homes for $321.26 in postage. That's like 23 cents. It's very economical. So now I can go back to my, this is one company. This is called Next Day Flyers. This just happens to be a company that I prefer using. There's other ones like Vistaprint, and I want to design postcards. Now, when I first started out, I started using the templates that were on this site. And some of these are mine that you'll see at the top. I'll open those up. So now, Next Day Flyers also has an EDDM package. If you don't want to do anything, they'll do the whole design process for you. They'll take care of the mailing and everything else. It's more expensive because they're doing everything for you. I like to kind of control what I'm putting out and also be able to keep the overages if I'm ordering. I use those in my listing packages to give people an idea, leave behind of what it is that I do to help market the homes. But I also find that I like having a little more control over my design. But in the beginning, this is how we started. So we went to standard postcards. And this gives you an option of different sizes. Now, I found that the best size postcard that seems to get retained or looked at is the 6x9. So I'm going to put 6x9 in there. I want the front side in full color. I also want my back side in full color. The paper stock, normally 14-point cardstock is about average, so that's fine. High gloss coating, absolutely. However, the post office tells me that for EDDM, they do not like the glossy coating on the reverse side where the indicia is for the EDDM. They like that to just be, just the regular paper stock. So I'm going to change that and say I want the front only. Now I know that I have about 1,700, so I'm probably going to, let's see here. I'll go ahead and just put 2,000 in here. And it's going to tell me that I want, and I also want to shrink wrap it because the post office will tell you that you have to bundle these in either 50s or 100s. So I'm going to let them bundle them in 100 for me. This way I can't bring them to the post office with it being shrink wrapped. I can take it off, but I don't have to sit there and count out 100, 100, 100. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my own, my own delivery. So now I have my information. I want to create my design. So here we have, I want to also go back down here and you'll see 6x9 and 6x9. One is landscape and one is portrait. So this one is, let's see here. Is this the right one? It is 6x9. Nope, I want the other one. Okay. So they do, if you go to the bottom here, they have suggestions for industries and style, etc. All of these are editable. So when you're first starting out, it might be easier rather than going through Publisher, which is the advanced program that we use. We basically start with a blank canvas and then start to import all of the information that we like to use or the backgrounds and play around with fonts. You can actually do this fairly quickly. So for instance, let's pick one of these. So let's say I want to use this one. And now I can customize this. If it ever loads. Okay. So the nice thing here is that you can click to insert an image here. So you can drag your image or whatever it is that you want to. All right, so let's put Remax. Let's just put this in there. Okay. So let's go back and insert that. Okay, so now we have Remax in there. And we want to put our company name. So that's Remax Preferred. We're going to say Fabulous. Remax Preferred. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and put our company name in there. Whatever photo, the photo of your house, whatever it is that you're trying to get across to the individuals that you are marketing to would go here. You can go ahead and you can search for stock images up here. They give you an option to do that. You can upload your own images from your computer. You can also decide that you want to maybe put a circle in somewhere, and maybe the photo of the house is going to go there, but maybe I want to put my picture right here. Okay. Now a lot of this part of the design, you can change the colors in the background. So let's say I don't want that to be red. Maybe I want that to be, let's see here. So maybe I want that to be blue. Oh, well, that one in the background went blue. All right, so we put blue there. So we have red, white, and blue. Now I'm going to have to put my picture back here again, so I can overlay. One of the other things that you can do here is obviously change the alignment of where things are. In this particular design, this is not going to be movable. However, in some of the other designs, it'll tell you if you hover over it, you right click, it will get, and I can double click this to unlock it, which means if I want to get rid of something completely, I can then drag a different image in there. So that's why we can leave that. Okay, let's go back. So let's say, and I've used quite a few of these where I just kind of like the way the postcard presented itself, and it lent itself more to one of my mailings. Now, here's one that I did use, and I'll show you what my finished product looked like afterwards. This one happened to have 3 photos, and I had a little development where I had 3 sales, so it was easier for me to put all 3 on one postcard. So I was able to upload my photos here, put my information in here, but I didn't want to have necessarily maybe have this banner here. So I double clicked on this to unlock it. Okay, so now I'm removing that. I don't want that block of color. I can take that right out, and it changes the way this looks. So you have that ability, if you play around with this, to be able to create your, and it's really not that hard. It's a lot of it is drag and drop, and then making sure you know what your information is that you want to get across to your client. Now, obviously with solds, you want to put a picture of the property. You want to be able to say that you sold it. You want to put your information, the company name, your name. You can put a price on there. And we always want to have a call to action. Call now. We can sell yours too. We have multiple buyers for this property. Are you interested in selling? You always want to have a call to action when you do these postcards to make people want to hold on to it, because maybe they're going to go ahead and be ready to maybe not sell today, but maybe in 60 days. So they're gonna give you a call. And I find that every time I send a postcard out, I get at least one phone call. A lot of times I'm really good where I wind up with 3 or 4 listings or even buyers. People say, well, I know that this was it was a sold card, but could you help me find a house? Be happy to do that. Let me go to my account to show you some things here. Okay, so these are, let me see if I can find you in. These are some of the postcards that I have done. And let's see if we can make it bigger for you. All right, so here was one. Can you see that okay? This one was a little rancher in Lindenwold. Now you'll have to make sure that your photos are pretty good quality. And I think most of us are using company, professional photography companies, so you should be able to use the photo and it should come out okay. So you always want to say who sold it, where the property was, the information that you have, put your websites on there so they can see what else you have, and you always want to design the back. I would suggest that you always, always, always put your photo on there. And when you do that, people get a chance to associate the name with the face. And that's important for them. Now they kind of feel like if you're continually marketing in their area or they see your signs, it's like they feel like you're friendly, you're a friend to them, or you're not a stranger because they recognize the name. Always have your manager take a look at these cards before you have them printed. There are things that you have to have on here to make sure that we are in compliance. We always want to put a little tiny blurb in here that says that, essentially we're not soliciting people that are already listed for sale. We want to make sure that the phone numbers are the correct sizes. We want to make sure that, let's open this one up for you. We want to make sure that everything's spelled right, number one, that you have the proper address for the company on there. And of course, this is kind of like the backside I kind of use as my resume to let them know that I am a professional and I've been doing this for a long time. And my information on the back pretty much says the same thing on everything. I may change the background, I may change the font, I'll change the color to make it look interesting, but we include the same information each time. So I always just say just the facts, experience matters, how many years, this is an older card. I mean, now mine are 40 plus years. What designations I have, what different boards I belong to, what awards I've received, things of that nature. Now you'll also notice that there's this indicia. If you're going to do every door direct mail, you have to have this EDDM. I don't know if I can make that any bigger or not. This EDDM indicia here, and this piece at the bottom. This is why the post office does not want these to be glossy on this side, because this is what they're reading when it's being scanned. So what they do, this is easy to find online. I Googled it. I went on, I just Googled USPS EDDM indicia, and I just copied it. So we always have this on the back of the card. It's always in the same place. But in this case, for this particular one, I decided that I was going to print 1,000, and it cost me a total of $221.95 to print 1,000 postcards, 6x9 postcards. And again, this, you can make the whole postcard the picture of the property. It doesn't have to just be a small one. So you're free to really design a lot of, whatever it is that you think is going to be interesting to make someone stop and look. This happens to be in a development in Terrestria. So it's a high density. So I wanted to basically put out a lot of postcards in that area. And guess what? I got a listing call from that. Somebody says, hey, I just got your sold card. Oh, great. A lot of times you'll get a buyer from it because they'll hold on to it and just say, look, why don't you call this agent? I just got this in the mail today. I think I was telling you at the last meeting, excuse me, I had done a postcard for a property in Holiday City. And that led there was a woman there who was visiting her parents. She was getting ready to sell her house in Washington Township. She then said, well, told mom, hey, I'm going to take this. This lady's around the corner from me. So I wound up getting a listing. Not only did I sell the property in Holiday City, I also got a listing call for Holiday City. But then that little postcard generated a listing in Washington Township, which then, when she sold, generated a sale in another 55 and older community. So for something relatively inexpensive, like, maybe a cost of total of $500, I wound up making quite a bit of commissions off of one little postcard. So they do work. And again, a lot of this is drag and drop. It's really easy to do. It does not take, let's see, do I have them hold here? It doesn't take that much time to do them, but you have to play around with them a little bit. This was one I did around Christmas time, so you can see I used a background that kind of looks snowy, just to because I knew I was going to be mailing it at that time. So now that I have my postcard designed, I'm going to place my order. And incidentally, I can go back and reorder any of this stuff. If I decided that I wanted to hit them again, I could go back and order. And when I do my order through this company, it keeps a record of the date that I ordered it and how much I ordered at that time. And the date that it was actually delivered. This company delivers between 3 and 5 days. So they're really quick. So I usually work on these and then figure out that I'm going to, let's go back here. Let's just go back to my computer freezing. Let's go here. Let's go to every door. All right. So now in the meantime, I know that I'm ordering my cards. So I'm going to place my order for delivery. Now I can pick the date. Sign in. I can pick the date that I want to go ahead and mail this ahead of time. And I can go ahead and pay for it online. And when I pay for it online, so let's say I'm going to pay online. And we'll say it's the 26th. Okay, so now it's telling me that this 1,682 delivery address delivery is going to cost me $321.26. So when I go to pay it online, it doesn't want me to use my credit card. All right, let's just go to my order history and we'll do it that way. Okay, so here was one that I printed out. Okay, so this one went out January. Let's see what we got here. All right, so this order went out in January, and my drop-off date was the next date, 1/7. So this was 2,025 homes that we were delivering to. And when I do this particular pay online, it tells me what the amount is. It also tells me where the post office is that I have to deliver this to. So that's the key with this. If you're going to be doing a mailing in Belmar, it's going to give you the post office that you have to deliver these to that are bundled in 100. And then there's forms that have to come with them. So this is my order number. It's telling me there's one drop off. There's 4 routes that I selected. There was a delivery address, a delivery amount of 2,025 homes. I paid it online. It also tells me to double check my mail pieces. And it's telling me that if I'm bundling them in 100, I needed to print 21 facing slips. And a facing slip looks like this. So what I do is I print one, and then I write in the date, and I write in how many pieces per bundle, total of bundles. So I write in as much information, and this will automatically put my route number in here too. But then it's like one of 2, 1 of 3, 1 of 4, 1 of 5. I just do the one form and then I photocopy it because I don't want to have to keep doing this form. If I just do a generic form, then I can go ahead and just make a photocopy, and I don't have to redouble my efforts. I can just continue to do my count. So that's what a facing slip looks like. Let's go back here. Okay, so then there's a mailing statement. This is what you're filling out, and you're also going to have this is saying it's been paid, but you just do the information, you print this out, and you also make sure that you have your my information's already auto-populated in here. And then you take this to the post office with your bundles, and you stand in line, you just hand it over to them, and then the next day they're out in the mail. So it's actually it sounds a little complicated when you first start, but it's actually very easy to do. So the most important thing is just deciding how many you want to mail, where you want to mail them to, keep a record of the route numbers, and then go in and design your postcard and place your order. And this is something you can do at night. Or if you have a kid that's really good at design and likes to play on the computer, and that this might be a good project for them to help design your postcards. But you always want to get somebody like your manager to double check to make sure that everything is in compliance before you order these. And you also want to make sure that you get proof. That I'm using, maybe it doesn't quite on the proof come out exactly the way it looks like on my screen. So many times the company, Next Day Flyers, will go ahead and give me a suggestion to do something else. And that's helpful. And then we go ahead and we finish the mailing, and they mail it out, and then in 2 to 3 days I get it, and boom, I go ahead and print everything up for the post office, and we get them out. And usually I would say within that first 7-day period, I usually get a phone call. Even if it's somebody that's calling to complain because they wanted to know why the house sold so cheap. I had a bank owned one time, and it was really in bad shape. And we put a sold card out, and the woman in the neighborhood calls me up, and she was panicking because she thought her whole neighborhood was devalued. And I just explained that this was a bank owned, and that the person who bought it was going to make it beautiful. And in fact, they were going to help enhance the values of the neighborhood. So even those kinds of phone calls are okay, because it gives you a chance to make a contact with someone and to have a conversation. But I have also used these for farming. If I have a certain area that I want to continue to blanket, I can go ahead and pre-design what I want to come out in my market area, and then have them printed and then get them out in a timely fashion. Time is the enemy. If you print stuff like everybody likes to do calendars or different baseball or football schedules, which is fine as long as you football that you can actually watch. If we're not in COVID-19 and there's no sports, or they change something, or a calendar. Well, if you don't get those out right away, they actually become less useful to you. So I find that, I've used these where I wanted to let them know that it was time to turn the clocks back and their clocks forward. So one way, that's like, if you just want to have 4 mailings a year, there's 2 of them right there. I've sent out things in a farm area, just wishing everybody a happy holiday. And if there's anything that they, coming start the fresh part of the year, if they'd like to think about buying or selling, to give me a call. Even if to spur activity, I might put something out in my farm and say, listen, rates are at an all-time low. This is the time to sell your house and upgrade. Or even if you're interested in refinancing, give me a call. I'll put you in contact with one of our preferred lenders, and perhaps they can help you get your rates down, and and not only that, maybe what you're paying monthly. So there's all kinds of servicing that you can also use these postcards for. And again, it's a very inexpensive way to get your message out there, and it looks nice. I mean, these are nice big glossy forms. I find that the 8.5 by 11, like you can even do an 8.5 by 11, almost like a flyer, but I think people kind of toss those. I find that the smaller postcards kind of get lost in with everything else. These are big enough where they kind of stand alone. And this, I find, for me, is very effective. But I always like to feature the house, and I always like to, especially if I sold something in 6 days, I want to let people know, hey, this house was a hot commodity, and maybe your house might be too. And again, I got a phone call from this one. Somebody, that wasn't for their house, but it was for their mother's home. They wanted to know if I would come out and take a look at a home that their mother had passed away. It wasn't in the area, but it still gave me a contact, somebody that I probably would never have been able to reach otherwise. So that's pretty much the easy part of doing next day flyers. And again, you can use Vistaprint and other companies. There are companies who will do it all for you, so you don't even have to do it, but you will pay for that. I find that this is much more affordable than advertising in we used to advertise in the Homes magazines and those remember the small real estate books? They were tiny ones. I used to take the first 4 pages. I used to spend like $3,500 a month to have premium placement. And people called on those because they didn't have, that was one of the only things that were in color at that time. And we would get a lot of people that would contact us about, amazingly, a tiny little postcard picture like this and say, I want to see that house. What we also did at that time too, to bring business in, was we were maybe not putting the price, but we were putting the affordability. What did it cost principal and interest? Which is another thing that you can do today. If you're saying, if you're even trying to market a house you have listed and you want to send it out in an area, let's say you decide you're trying to sell a home that would be great for first-time home buyers. So maybe you find an apartment complex that you are prohibited from going in there physically and dropping off information. But you could do a mailing targeted to those folks that we think are probably going to want to buy, knowing that the rental prices are much larger or more expensive, and say, you know what, talk to us about buying a home. You could buy this house. It's going to cost, the cost would be $642.52 a month, principal and interest, plus taxes. Contact us to find out how you could make a house like yours today. Stop paying rent. Invest in your future. You can use these for all kinds of marketing efforts, depending on what target you're looking for. So again, I find that these are, once I get the back done, my back information is always the same, but I just change up how it appears so it looks different. And I just, when I have to update something, then I update it. But once this part's done, all you guys really have to do is work on your message on the front. So it works for me, and I find that people still look at things. See, people will stop and look at a postcard. If it comes into their hands and they have to hold it, they're going to look at it. They're not necessarily going to read my email. So that's pretty much it for the design for next day flyers. If you wanted to go to, once we got a little more experienced with this, we then went to, let me see here. Oops, let me see if I can move this for a second. I don't know if you could see this. This is Publisher. So Publisher basically starts with a blank screen. And with this, then this is front and back. Now I start from scratch. I can control whatever background that I want to put in there. I can make it gradient. I can change the way it looks. I'm really the architect of the card. This line that you see here is where you have to make sure you don't go outside that line, because this is where they're going to trim. I don't like to have a white border around my cards. I like them to just be flush to the end. Excuse me.
Denise?
But yeah.
Is anybody else saying this? The
Can you see
publisher?
this?
No. So
You're
you
not
might
seeing
have
that?
to share publisher. So go back to the share thing at the bottom.
Okay. All right. Hold on a second. My screen sharing.
And then it'll come up like all the different screens that you can share.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. Where's publisher? Okay. Let's try that.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Can you see that now? Yep. Good. Okay. So this basically, there's a little blue line here, and this line basically tells you don't want to go beyond this because this is where this is the trim line here. So maybe I decided that I want to, and most of what I'm doing is going to be page design at the top that I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to use different fonts and backgrounds. So let's say I want to go to, let's see here, let's do. All right, so let's say I want to do some kind of a module here. I don't know why it's not doing that, but so this actually is a little bit, like I said, I would start using the templates that are already with some of these companies that are printing to get started, just to get yourself familiarized with designing postcards. And once you do, then if you go to publisher, and this is kind of like a whole nother class because this is really involved, you can start to basically change and move things, change your templates. I add symbol, I find backgrounds that I like online. A lot of times I just save things and then I go to my folder and say, oh, this might be a good one. And then I create, maybe ellipses or circles or things so I can insert different items in there to make this look more customized, which is what you'll see. Like a lot of the ones that I've done lately, you'll see are more customized. I'm going to go back to, let me just go back and show you what I'm talking about. Screen sharing. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, so let's go back to, let's go here again. All right, so this one, like I said, this one was, you can see where the line, you see the little dotted lines? This is where I want them to cut this. So this way my postcard now is, and in this case, when this came in as a proof, I noticed that it was cutting off my sign. So I actually had to adjust my photo a little bit. So this way I didn't have them cut this off. But this was my cut line here. So this was this was done on Publisher, where I actually put a big photo. That was my background of the property. And then we started to import our logo, the information for the company, my information, and the information that I really wanted to get out there, which was this house sold quickly and we can sell yours too. And then the back was already done. We just decided to, we meaning my daughter is my assistant, we just decided to go ahead and put this on the back of, this is our new back that we're using for the time being. So we change it up periodically, but again, this is my resume. And that's what people are looking at. They flip it over the back. They go, oh, wow, look at that. Wow, 40 years. Wow, it's a long time. And then some people even call me and say, really, 40 years? I go, yeah, listen, that's why the picture's small. You can't see the lines up close. But it's effective. So this is more advanced when you go into Publisher. And we can probably do another class on that, just how to design a postcard. But I think if you just want to get used to using them or try it out and see how it works for you, you would be pretty, I would recommend that you would just go and use a template that's already here. Don't reinvent the wheel per se. Just go ahead and use it, make it easy on yourself, get it out, and let's see what kind of response you're getting. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And sometimes people just call to talk to you to say, so what did that house have in it? My house is better. Well, you know what? Now so-and-so, so where's your house at? Well, you'll have to come over sometime when you're in the neighborhood. I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to be there next week. When would you like me to stop by? I'm always in your neighborhood if you want me to stop by and look at your house. Tell me when it's a good time for you. But the whole thing is to be able to help you reach people, get listings, get buyers, whatever your message is, that you want to let them know that you're there, that you're their neighborhood professional, that you get results, and you can do the same thing for them. Questions for me? Now, come on, somebody's got a question. I could tell.
So Denise, did you answer the two questions that were in the Zoom chat already?
Oh, I didn't see them.
Okay,
Okay,
there's two
so
questions.
yeah.
Chris asks, how many do you normally send out at a time for your just listeds and then your just solds?
So my solds, it just depends on the neighborhood. Depends on how many homes are in the neighborhood for the solds. Um, I usually, I don't mind that a lot of the, I mean, it's been as little as 500. I seldom do less than 500. Um, and it's been as much as 2,500, depending. Like if it's Wilton's Corner, I might, there might be 3,500 homes. I might want to just hit the whole development and send it out. If it's a smaller development, like, one of the 55 and olders, maybe there's only 500 houses or 400 houses, and I'll do that. As far as just listed, it all depends on who I think my target market's going to be. If it's near an apartment complex or it's an area that's got a lot of apartments, and I think that there's probably buyers that I can wrangle somebody from, then I'm going to be looking at the apartment complexes, and it depends on how many are in there. There could be 1,000 people. So it just depends on where I'm trying to market. You could do this for open houses too. You could do 200. If you decided you just wanted to put, 200 homes around something that you've got a really hot home that you think is going to be great for an open house, you can do an open house mailing. As long as you can get it out the day before, it'll be there, the day before your open house. If you're doing it on a Sunday, have it delivered on a Saturday. If it goes too early, they may not remember it. But if they're getting this, oh, guess what, hon? There's an open house here tomorrow. Why don't we go take a look? That looks like it's a really nice home. Let's go see that. Or I can't believe they think they're gonna get this price for it. Let's go see the home. So it all depends on what it is that I'm marketing at that time. I don't know that I would do less than 200. For myself, I generally do a minimum of 500. I figure if I'm going to go through the effort of designing it, I might as well just go ahead and do 500. Now, what happens if, let's say you do 2,000 postcards, but the mail route says it's 2,100? Well, sometimes you get overage anyway. They send you the additional, which is why I like to do it myself, because I like to have the extra. But there's nothing that says that if you have some leftover postcards from the same general area from another mailing and you just need to bump it out, so stick them in the back. Who cares if it gets out a second time? Nobody's going to know. So you're going to be paying for that amount of mail route. So you want to try to make sure that you have a piece that's going to go into every mailbox. What was the other question?
I'm sorry, Denise. Denise,
Yes.
it's Chris.
Hi, Chris.
So on this page, you have, it looks like there's a quantity of 2,000 cards, $280.95.
Yes.
That is not including the shipping, correct? For the
That's
mailing?
correct. The shipping for the post office, let's see if we can go find that. Hold on a second. Let me go back. Oops. Let's go back to the post office. So this one was on, so that one was 5 night, I think. All right, so let me see if I can. So I did on this one. Just gonna move you guys around for a second so I can look at my stuff here. Ooh, there's more people. Hi guys. Hold on. Okay. So attractive range. So let me get my see. All right, so look at my order history. Okay, so let's see here. I just have to figure out which one was that. Hold on a second.
Well, you're just trying to figure out how much per house, right?
Well, no, because this tells me where I was mailing to, so it would tell me what my cost was. But yeah, so but I mean, we could just go to 125 Knight Avenue, and how many did I say I had printed on that one?
2,000.
2,000.
2,000, right? Okay, so let's put it in there, and it'll tell, and I'll go ahead and put that in there. So I wanted, let's see, let's see. So we have this one for, do this. This. So roughly, it cost me roughly $410 to send out about 2,000 pieces of mail.
So the 410 plus the 280.
Yes.
So you're looking at almost $700.
Between the two, but I also was reaching 2,000 homes.
Right. Right. And what do you think your ROI on that is?
My rate of return, and you know what? It's funny because this particular one, I got one. You know what? I figure if I can get one lead from it, it pays for the whole thing, which I'm fine with.
Right.
And every time I send it out, I usually get some kind of a response, whether it's something immediate or something down the road. Sometimes I get 2 and 3. So, you know, what I look at is that I need to get at least one lead out of that. And if it costs me $700 to get one good lead, that like I said, the one lead that I got on the one card generated me about $18,000.
Nice.
So, and a lot of times, like I said, within the first 7 days, I'll wind up getting some kind of a response from someone, but then maybe there's like a month or 2 later, and I'll get a phone call and they'll tell me that they got my mailing, and I'll say, well, where's your property? Which, what mailing are we looking
at? There was another question from Joe Yannick.
Okay.
Joe wants to know, is there a liability for putting sold price on the card? And are there times that you don't want to do this?
I don't think so. I mean, first of all, it's a matter of public record. Once it goes to settlement, that number is a matter of public record. So I don't think that there's any liability there. Are there times when you may not want to do that? Sure. If you think that, like I said, I did it in one neighborhood, and they basically, the woman called me up because she was freaking out, was afraid that she was, that the neighborhood was going downhill. But I assured her that, the property was being rehabbed, and in fact, if anything, it was going to enhance the values in the development. So, I really think that, I'm not too concerned with that. I've never had anybody call me and say, hey, you can't, you shouldn't tell anybody what I paid for the property. It's a matter of public record. The deeds get recorded, the numbers are out there. The numbers are the numbers. Sometimes I might, maybe if there's an area that I still want to hit and I think is hot, maybe I'll do a postcard where essentially I just tell them, like I put information from Bright. Here's a snapshot of your development. Here's what's active. Here's what's sold. Here's what's pending in the last 6 months. And I always tell them where I get the information. It's public information. I mean, you can get it from the internet. Anybody can go on Zillow or Trulia. So I'm not really concerned with liability there. if you don't want to put a price down, don't put a price down. If you want to just say, if you, contact me for more information, well, what did it sell for? You can do that. If that's a way to generate more leads coming into you and to give you phone calls, you can do that too. But I just find that especially if prices are good, or it's sold quickly, or it's maybe one of the highest prices in that development, that I want to, I want to let people know that the market is better, the market is booming. Hey, if they got 225 for that house, I wonder what we can get for ours. Maybe this is the time to move.
So in the olden days, they used to
Yes,
teach us that you shouldn't put the price on there because then there's not a reason for the people to call you. But now with the internet, once you put the address out there, if they want to know the price, they can just look it up themselves.
that's exactly right.
So, but yeah, I don't, it's all public information. So it's not, I think now you want to be the person who is providing the most information that you can possibly provide. So if people recognize
Absolutely.
you as being the,
I just, myself, I just think people want to know. And that's what gets the calls. Like, you're right. In the olden days, it was amazing to me that people would contact us over a tiny little postage stamp, black and white picture in the newspaper. And they'd come in with this little tiny thumbnail thing saying, I scenes don't do well anymore. They don't need to pick those up to get information. They can just, dial it up on their phone, dial it up. There's an old word, look it up on their phone, and boom, there's the price. Or, oh yeah, I know. I'm in front of the house. Let me just put, or Truly or whatever they're using, realtor.com or remax.com. Here's the price. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's got a pool. That looks like a nice house. So I want to let them know what's happening in the community, but it also lets them know that I'm active in that community. I'm not just somebody who, there's 50 million agents out there that I'm just a random agent. I'm an agent who's been around for a long time. This is what I do. This is my business. This is my profession. Obviously I'm successful. I'm showing you that I sold a house. And if I have 2 or 3 or 4 sales in that development, well, you know what? Now what you're starting to do is leave that lasting impression. What you want to do is get what we used to call an at-bat. You at least want an opportunity to be able to sit down and talk to these people, to get into the house and have a conversation where hopefully it's going to lead to a listing contract or whatever else you can do to help them at that particular point in time. But it gives you an opportunity to be one of, if not the person, one of the top maybe 2 or 3 that they're going to reach out to. And that's really the purpose for this.
hey, Denise, what advice would you give people that they may not have, maybe they don't have a just sold, or maybe they don't have a just listed? How do they come up with something to send out? I noticed you said something about making a copy of, what's going on in the neighborhood. Are there other ways that they could, do mailings without having that listing inventory?
Sure. Again, like I suggested, if you have if you know that there's a lot of apartment complexes and you want to target first-time buyers because there's first-time buyer money, or, it's around tax time and you know that they're getting money from their taxes, that will probably get refunds, or that you heard that all the cost of the rentals are going up, and we know that it's cheaper for them to buy than it is to rent if they can buy. You can hit apartment complexes. You can, again, just I would just decide what target that I want to, where do I want to target my marketing, and what is it that I'm trying. You have to keep it simple. You're either looking for a buyer or you're looking for a seller, one or the other. And I just, you can let's say you sold a property that in an area that that people would want to buy, that there's tons of buyers for it. So you could just do a mailing saying, we have more buyers for your development than we have properties. really, if you're thinking about selling, we can probably, we can get you top dollar. Contact us today or call me to find out more information about, you know, where the market is and what we can do to help you with your home. So you can farm for listings just because you know that it's a hot commodity. I mean, I've had a property where, I could have sold it. I could have sold 10 of them if I had 10. It was a little thing in Blackwood. It was like 150,000. And I thought, we'll probably get one or two people. Well, we wound up with like 10 offers in 2 days because it was such a price range that there's a scarcity. So I would do that. I would do that kind of stuff. I would let people know that, if you're looking for listings in an area because maybe you have a buyer. I mean, how many times have you had a buyer that says, look, I only want to be in this development or this development, and you would do a regular mailing. Listen, I have a buyer who is pre-qualified, who is moving into the area, and this is the only area they want to be in. Please contact me if you're thinking about selling. You can do that. You can just put out information about yourself and your company. Just want to let you know, I'm, happy spring. I'm your neighborhood professional. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm so-and-so. I've been in the business for so many years. You can do a resume card. You can, you can tell them that, if they contact you for, for information, if they're thinking about refinancing, if they're thinking about buying, if they would like to just get pre-qualified, whatever those services are that you offer, you can put that on a card. You don't have to have specifically something to sell, but you have to make it interesting for them to want to look at it and want to keep it.
Okay, well, I think we're coming up on the top of the hour. If we don't have any other questions, or if we do, we can go back through. You called Denise directly, right, Denise?
You can call me.
Wait a minute, Kara has one.
Right.
Let's get one last one in.
Okay.
I was trying to. How often are you doing this? How often are you mailing these mailers?
I could barely hear you, Carol.
How often are you mailing your mailers?
As soon as my properties go to closing, I start working on my mailer.
Okay.
So the more closings, the more mailings.
You got it. And so as soon as my settlement is, what happens is once I know that I've got a mortgage commitment from a buyer and it's pretty much ready to go, I'll go ahead and start designing the card. This way, that as soon as it goes to closing, and if I'm putting a price on there, I never want to have it printed before it physically goes to closing, because what if at the last minute there's a credit for something and it changes the price. So what I do is once it goes to closing, I verify that the price is the same as what I have on my design. My design's already ready to go. I've selected my background. I know what I'm putting out. Then I order my cards. And then within that week, within probably the next 7 to 10 days, that mailing is out. Because people know that they see people moving in, like I said, time is the enemy with a lot of these things. You want to be able to get that information out, and the sooner you get it out, the better it is. And a lot of times people will say to me, oh, you know what? The seller told me they sold their house for this. Well, sometimes sellers don't want people knowing their business when they're selling, but after they move, they don't care. But I do that after every closing, unless it's an area that I really don't want to do repeat business in. Maybe it's an area that I had a couple in Camden that actually sold, but I don't know that I want to I don't have a lot of clientele that's looking for like investment properties in the Camden area. If I did, that would be a different story, because I could certainly do a large mailing, down there. A lot of them are row houses, so it's high density. Or maybe I had a listing down the shore. But in reality, am I going to be driving down the shore every day to go show a house? Probably not. So, maybe I'll send a sold card out, but maybe I'm not going to do repeat mailings to that area. As far as just listed, it all depends on what it is. If I have a very unique property that I know, because unique doesn't always translate into more money. Sometimes it translates into, this is going to be a tough one to sell because of an aberration in floor plan or a weird lot or, bedroom, like 6 bedrooms and 2 baths, something odd that I know that it's going to take me longer to sell it, then I'll blanket the area with a just listed card, because I know that I have to really try to troll more areas to see if I can find somebody that this might fit their needs. Maybe somebody has a family with, a lot of kids, or it's a blended family, or they have parents living with them and they need more space. But, you don't normally find too many of those in the MLS, or maybe in the MLS, if I put in 6 bedrooms, I'm not going to get any hits, because how many people are really looking for 6 bedrooms? So sometimes I will do a just listed for something that's very unique that I think that I need to try to get out to the public. And then those folks talk to other people. And hopefully we would be able to find a potential purchaser for that, or at least someone to call and inquire about it and see if it fits their needs. So again, it just depends on what I have. Right now, putting out anything for a just listed card, I probably am not going to have to do, because things seem to be moving fairly quickly. But if we're in a down market, or things are slow and you're really trying to jumpstart, some activity, or let's put it this way, you couldn't, let's say COVID-19 lasts a long time and they tell us we can't do physical open houses anymore. Well, now we're doing virtual ones, but if not, this is kind of like an open house card. You can't physically come in to see it en masse on your own. However, if you really think you want to see it, you can contact me and I'll give you a private tour, in a safe guided tour. So hopefully that answers your question.
So getting back to, thank everybody for your time. We're coming up on the top of the hour and we don't want to take you over that because you won't come back next time.
That's right. We want you to come back.
So we want you to come back. Thanks a lot, Denise. We appreciate your thing. It's very educational, and we look forward to our next one. So
yeah, just call me, guys, if you have any questions or you want to try to do this. I'll walk you through it. If you want to see samples, some more, physical samples of what I have, let me know. You can always pop by, or let me know, and I'll pop some in the mail to you so you can see them. But I'm happy to help you if you want to get started on using Everydoor Direct Mail. It's really a very simple process. Once you do it once or twice, it's actually very easy. But happy to help you guys any way I can. Also, I'm thinking about maybe doing a future class on mobile home sales. I don't know if anybody would be interested in that. Maybe not. So at any rate, if you are, let me know. But everybody should have my number.
What are you doing?
Mobile home sales.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's some nuances with that. And I was just talking to somebody else who's got one. I said, I really didn't know what to do with this. Yeah. So maybe we'll do a future little talk on that. But reach out to me, guys. Call me on my cell, email me, whatever you need. I'll be happy to do what I can to help you. So happy postcarding, and go make a lot of money today. And thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.